According to actress Flavia Hauser, also of the Capulana's Company theater group, racism affects all fields. Oftentimes, the first reference of love comes with racism inside the home in relation to the mother, with the father when he's present, and siblings. From the moment this contempt is naturalized, the other segments and spaces of relationship also naturalize this oversight. You don't know what it is to be treated well. This extends to affective and institutional relations. The group, which had as its starting point an inspiration for research an article by American activist and feminist Bell Hooks, whose article Living to Love, which was released as Vivendo de Amor in Portuguese, puts her finger on the wound and leads the audience to reflect on the effective role and construction of identity of Black women. According to the playwright, self-esteem today is the old self-esteem of our grandparents and great-grandparents. Facing everyday racism that affects Black women and their families for which they are responsible, stealing the time and space to care for themselves, weakening love itself. I have to point out the fact that within the Black women's feminist movement in Brazil, you'll see a lot of the works of Bell Hooks have been debated, cited, translated along with other Black women feminists. So what my question is, we see what this discussion is, the discussion that's going on in the United States. A lot of people feel that, feminism is one of the things that has led to a disastrous relationships between Black men and Black women in the United States. A lot of Black men are saying like, look, okay, you guys want, your independence, you're strong and independent. You don't need no man. Okay, well, 40, 50 years after, you know, policies by Lyndon Baines Johnson in the late 60s, feminism, the sexual revolution, and people are looking like, okay, look, here it is 40, 50 years later, and the Black family is in shambles. Why is that? So what I'm just pointing out here is that many of Black feminist activists that you find in the United States have taken their show to Brazil. Either they have specifically spent time in Brazil giving lectures, their books have been translated. So you'll find a lot of the talking points that you find with a Black American feminism, you find in Brazil. You've seen people like Angela Davis having a consistent presence in Brazil over, I don't know how long she's been visiting, but I'm quite sure it's been over a decade by now. Years ago, I used to look at Angela Davis as, one of those late 60s, early 70s heroes of Black America. But, my interpretation of Angela Davis is a little bit different now because I've said this for a long time. You can't just necessarily look at somebody because they're Black and believe they're necessarily representing the interests of the people. What are their political leanings? That's always has to be the question. So I've had to take another look at what Angela Davis has going on personally. Anyway, Lucelia, I think it's supposed to be Sergio. I'm not sure, maybe I misspelled that, but she's an actress and director of the show Pari Cavalos. That's the short version of the title of the previous play that I was speaking on. She believes that loneliness affects not only poor Black women, but it is a constant among women whose intellectual and cultural formation is above average. Where have we heard about this before? Where Black women who have attained a certain educational status and a certain, I don't know, success in the workplace and in her career, she's also finding this difficulty of finding a partner. So same thing that you're finding among Black Brazilian women. In addition, we have many sexual stereotypes. We have that need to be strong and not succumb. And this is also a problem in love. We are not the ideal of beauty. We are not in good jobs to help the partner grow. We are too hard or less educated, among many other things. We're not even in the novellas, Brazil's ever popular soap operas. A pretty Black woman is seen as an exception to most Brazilians, educated and intelligent, mother of a family and companion. So, damos borraco, let's live together. We are gostosa, meaning sexually hot and cook well. That's what we're good for. Our struggle is to conquest otherness, dignity, and integrity. This is only possible through love. It starts with our choices and our limits. but undergoes a collective consciousness of whites, blacks, yellows, blues, reds, everyone. That's what we want in talking about our feelings and dislikes. Just wondering, just in this piece right here, how many people could relate to what she's talking about? Because, you know, in many ways, this could be applied, across the board. This could have been an American woman talking about this, but this is Luceli is a light skinned black woman. I had the pleasure of meeting her a few times when I was in Sao Paulo, but um, when she says, we're not even represented in the soap operas, it's like, again, this is something that I've always said. It's like African Americans, we have long complained about the underrepresentation of our people in America, United States, mainstream media, but it's infinitely less in Brazil. There's not even a comparison. That's been changing, I'd say, over the last decade, but the representation of Afro Brazilians in Brazil's media is still shockingly minimum, I would say, even though it has been slowly changing. Bringing up questions, criticisms, and reflections on the affectivity of Black women. Capulana's company addressed the theme by evaluating the history of health and diseases affecting the Afrodescendente woman, or the woman of African descent. Within this historical construction, we have no right to be fragile. Even being the base of the pyramid, Black women take care of everything. We live the archetypal of the warrior, of the strong woman. Because of this, we implode, and calluses, tumors, and fibroids are born. What does it say? What is this big tit that breastfeeds everyone and everything, but who cares about us? This doesn't mean that we want a relationship of submission. What we want is a relationship of exchange. If no one looks at us, let's look at ourselves. We are always with the next person, looking for the next person. At what time do we look at ourselves? As the actress, poet, and art educator Priscilla Preta, again, of the same theater company. Our affection is being buried every day because of the daily aggressions. We always need to clench our fists, swallow our tears, dry our tears, and silence them. We always come out losing this barbarism of mathematics. We are framed in clippings that speak of our physical attributes, our temperature, our musicianship, i.e., always being the object of the other, reiterates actor Sidney Santiago. When love becomes a political act, for some, talk about love has become mushy. For others, thinking and talking about affection and experience of love within the Afro-feminine segment gains a spiteful and victimized connotation. However, there have been years of silence, submission, and misunderstandings of the relationship. The more we break the silence, the more we will empower ourselves and change what is historically set, says Flavia Rosa. You notice this word empower. It's just, this is something that you find a lot in Black Brazilian women's feminist circles these days, and for a while now. To the measure that this woman empowers herself and finds stories equal to hers, loneliness loses the connotation of pain and becomes synonymous with freedom, or in the case of theater, pieces of political and curative act. The body reframes this process with self-esteem. The embodiment may be revised and bring a reconstruction of self-image. There are women who have something in common, but they are not all the same, says Ana Claudia Lemos Pacheco. The escape is an empowerment of Black women. We remember that it's us who educate these men, and that some stereotypes need to stop being reaffirmed by us Black women. It's our truth. When a Black woman speaks, it bothers people and generates nonconformity, reiterates Claudete Alves. What these two groups debate goes beyond the sexual and erotic dimension of the stereotype of the Afro-descendente woman, again, the woman of African descent. We're not talking about sex, but emotional health. Emotional health. A healthy family and balanced people is the least we can wish for in our society. One of the characters in the show says, just imagine what an empowered woman can do when she decides to react against all oppression. Love is political, our choices too. The important thing is to learn to look beyond this distorted mirror that separates us from ourselves. We don't talk about forcing ourselves to relate or have relationships only with Black men. We're also talking about why Black women feel that they are not loved, and many of them have no companions beside their children. Citing Bell Hooks, Our healing is in the act and art of loving, says Lucelia Sergio. So again, I see the first time I misspelled her name. With no prediction of the new season, the groups continue with research and fostering debate with the public. Os Crespos are preparing a show about homosexual relations among Black men in the project Cartas a Madame Satan, Letters to Madame Sata. It's a Madame Sata is a very famous. It was made into a film. It was a legend about a very famous black gay male. I think in I don't know 30s or 40s, Rio de Janeiro. He was a master capoeira artist. He lived a bohemian lifestyle, and there was actually a popular film that was released about the life of this guy. I don't know. I think it was released probably about 15 years ago, with one of Brazil's top actors playing the role of Madame Sata. And Capulana's company, they are preparing for the release and screening of the documentary Sangoma, which deals with the research on the health and identity of Black women in Brazil. Breaking the silence. In addition to the shows, other articles address the affectivity of Black women. A documentary about the research process of the show Sangoma of the Capulana's company. In addition to excerpts from the piece, the documentary includes interviews and statistics on the health status of Black women in Brazil. This is where you could purchase it. Wonder if it's still available after all. This article is like 8 years old. Released by EDU FBA late last year. Again, that's 2014. It was released then in 2013. The book is a result of the doctoral research of author Ana Claudia Lemos Pacheco of Unicamp. It's the University of Campinas in the state of Sao Paulo, and addresses the affective state of Black women in Bahia, their stories, and affective sexual trajectories. The actress and poet Priscilla, well, it's actually Priscilla Preta. That shouldn't have been translated. I translated as Priscilla Black, but her artistic name is Priscilla Preta, Preta meaning black, presents erotic poetry in A Kalimba e a Flauta, a book done in partnership with the poet Alan da Rosa. The book comes with the audio CD of poetry and musical arrangements. If you're looking for that, you can purchase that here. A collection of poetry and prose edited by Collective Mijiba from Sao Paulo and organized by the journalist Elisandra Sosa, where you can get a hold of that. I happened to meet Elisandra Sosa some years ago. The book, Vito Regra, made from the master's thesis of the researcher Claudete Alves, it addresses the affectivity of Black women in the city of Sao Paulo. Controversial, the author makes a reflection on the loneliness of Black women to the disregard of the Black man not having relationships with them. So anyway, it would be cool if these two plays would actually, if they've been released on DVDs, because I'd be intrigued to see them. But this is an ongoing discussion about this idea of Black women not being able to find long-term partners or men to marry, because they often get left in the dust. They get left to the side by both Black men and white men. The other intriguing thing is that I think this is coming throughout the African diaspora. Women who have more light skin, they have less of a really tightly coiled, kinky hair. They have a looser curl or whatever. They have lighter skin, or they may be light skin and or mixed. And a lot of these women have an easier go at it of securing partners. That's something that I noticed some years ago, because in general, what we call Black and brown people in Brazil, or pretos and pardos, statistically, they're basically in the same boat in terms of inequality vis-a-vis the white population. But one area where lighter skinned, or you'll say brown women or mixed women, mestiza women, they get married and have long-term relationships much quicker than darker skinned Black women. That's something that I always have to point out, because otherwise the Black and brown population, in terms of inequality compared to the white population, they're almost exactly in the same boat. But marriage is one area where people who have more of a mixed look, they have more success in securing long-term relationships with men, whether they're Black or white. So anyway, I'm going to close this piece out right here. There's going to be more where this came from, because this is an ongoing discussion. And when you throw in the discussions about modern women, feminism, relationships, divorces, it makes for an intriguing picture. It's something that I want to really start to unpack, because this discussion is ongoing in the United States, and I find that it's also true in Brazil. So, hope you enjoyed this piece. There's going to be more of this coming, as I just said, because there's a lot to talk about with this topic. Particularly with there being so many men uh, expressing interest in hooking up with Brazilian women. There's a lot of things that we should discuss, because it's not just you could just get a passport, go to Brazil, and think, okay, you're gonna hook up with this woman and everything is just gonna be perfect, because men are men and women are women wherever you go. There, I've always said there's gonna be differences on the surface, obviously culturally, but the reason why this topic is going on such a global level is because it seems that men are the same everywhere we go and women are the same everywhere you go. So I think, this is something that people should discuss and get to know more of before they just think, okay, I'm going to jump on a plane. It's going to be easy to hook up with a Brazilian woman than with an American woman. That may be true. It may not be. It just depends on the person that you hook up with. So that's a discussion that's going to be coming up more in the future. But for now, let me know what you thought about this piece. Share a couple of your comments in the comment section there. Give me a thumbs up for the video. Consider subscribing to this channel and clicking on the notification button as I put up more videos. And with that said, hope to see you all. Come check out my next video.